Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very own new segment on CXO Experts called Women in Tech, where we'll be interviewing women from different tech segments and understanding how their life works. So today I'm honored to be joined by Miss Lekshmi Nair, the Global Capability Head at NTT Data. With over 23 years of experience in information security consulting and program management, she holds prestigious certifications like CISA, CSIM, and lead auditor ISO 27001. Recognized as one of India's top 20 influencers in security, she is also the founding member and president of VSIS India, which is Women in Cybersecurity, the Indian chapter. Ms. Nair, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Amreen, and thank you for having me. This is really a great opportunity, and a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Looking forward to this conversation. I
Thank
hope you're doing well and had a good festivities and had a good break and weekend as well.
Of course, yes, ma'am. So to begin this conversation, ma'am, let's talk a little bit about, the different emerging trends and technologies that are coming up. There is a
Yeah.
certain need for organizations to build their technological ecosystem in an adaptive and resilient manner. So how would you suggest organizations successfully integrate such tech into the development life cycle without slowing down the innovation at the organization?
Yeah, very pertinent question, Amreen. Thanks for asking this because with all lot of AI coming in and AI now from ML to Gen AI to now we are talking about adaptive and agentic AI these days. So there is a lot of changes that happen. I wanted to take a little a few years back, in fact, several years back when I was about to start my career. So I don't know if you remember, there was um, this thing came in as Y2K problem. That was the systems and the computers were really coded in such a way that it should reset to 00 when we hit the
Yes.
year 2000, right?
Mhm.
So uh, I was interestingly I've worked in those ages where you um, we've started seeing the computers with floppy disks and CD drives and the processor with the emerging situation of Pentium processors. So I still remember that was a time that everyone was so panicked whether this is all the computers in the world are going to crash,
Mhm.
and we will end up not having none of the professionals will have a job because the computer crashed. Then what else is going to be there, right? So we have been through such era where people were thinking about whether a computer existed, right? So now we are moving towards the age where we are thinking about, do we really need humans to do things,
Mhm.
right? And interestingly, some of the trends wherein we are talking even about AI replacing base level jobs, the level one jobs, and completely moving to a machine managed kind of setup, right? So I've seen both the ages and how organizations have kind of adapted to all of this scenario. So a couple of things, when a new technology comes in, something like this about whether this is a threat or something that is going to um, really bring value to organization, is a question that all the time, all these times we have faced, organizations have faced, right?
Mhm.
So I think a couple of things that organizations need to really look at when we are bringing technology, bringing um, uh, new things into their ecosystem.
Mhm.
Innovate for a purpose. So first thing is innovate for a purpose, because it's important that we look at what is the purpose for which we are innovating. We are not really doing innovation for just innovation. You're adopting a technology because everyone else is doing, right? So the
Mhm.
formal thing that this generation has about fear of missing out, right? Everyone is adopting AI. I should adopt AI in what people are doing. I really need to look at is there a purpose, is there is a use case that one should look at in leveraging the new technologies in the current environment, the business problem that we are trying to solve, and then bring in the technology into that domain, right? So I think we should not forget the basics about what is the base and the objective about what we are doing the technology for, and then bring that purpose with the technology innovation that we have in the space, right? So that's one thing. Second thing about have a plan in place, because for all of this you really need to have a to clear rollout plan on how do you do that on a phase wise manner. Not that it can't be a big bang change for
Mhm.
all the technology. So there should be clear cut plan with the cutovers, with minimal disruptions, and doing an impact analysis on how much savings that I should look at, or
Mhm.
how one should look at bringing in optimization. If I am implementing AI into, I'm just taking AI as an example because that's what everyone is talking about these
Of
days, right? So
course,
that's one. Then thirdly, the education and enablement, which is also a cultural change. Many times we forget that with all of that we are talking about, we forget the people aspect of technology adoption.
yes.
And so one is the when the people factor, one is the education, the other part is about the cultural and empathy that we need to have when you are bringing in any new technology. So there is a lot of questions in people's mind on how they are going to adopt, how that's going to impact their work that they are doing. So that bit is absolutely important when we are adopting new technologies, because at more often than not we forget and we just roll out, and then people get impacted and people don't adopt it. People are usually very hesitant to the changes, so those things may happen. And then the last thing is about how do we measure on a continuous basis. What you can't measure is something that you can't really see. I would say what you can't see is something that you can't measure as well, right? So make sure that you have something that is visible and you measure it, so that you are able to drive in the overall benefits that comes out of the technology aspect that we are bringing in, right? So these are a couple of things that I could really think about.
Definitely. That was like quite insightful because you did present a lot of points, and especially your Y2K example really is very evident because when it comes to something like, down the line, down 20 years, how is this technology actually going to help us? I'm sure when
Yeah.
initially the computer was also created, it was not programmed to go past 2000. So it would be stuck at
Yeah.
1999, and then after that, it would go back to zero. So
Yeah.
definitely that is something that is like you say foresight, like something that is
Yeah.
going to happen in the future. So given your
Absolutely.
experience in such cases, like when adopting new tech or even in general while running their current technology, what are some critical compliance blind spots that companies need to address?
Compliance is an interesting point, right? So but because I'm a security professional, a lot of job that's those are created today is because of the compliance mandates, compliance and
Mhm.
regulatory mandates. And I've had several conversations with the CISOs in the past, and when I've been talking to them about what is their major driver in terms of the security investments, they many of them indicated that compliance and regulatory mandates are the ones driving their budgets and investment when it comes to the
Mhm.
security spend, right? So at the same time, we also end up having more like a compliance fatigue when organizations look at having these blind spots in addressing the compliance and regulatory aspects. So a couple of things here. One is checklist compliance, which is where you need to have a compliance. You just um, follow. I'll talk about, say, let's look at multi-factor authentication,
Mhm.
or an authentication framework that one should have for their applications, right? So you will end up having a multi-factor authentication implemented for some of your applications, but many times you forget you have an API that you have leveraged in that application, which has a hard-coded credential in that, right? So what
Mhm.
happens to your multi-factor authentication? You still have all of that, but you have a hard-coded credential that will end up leaking your data. That becomes a entry point for attackers to come into your environment, right? So which means you are just doing compliance for the purpose of compliance, and you are ignoring, or you're not looking at a holistic picture on how that can bring in the actual security to your environment. So the
Mhm.
other could be, while doing that, you might end up ignoring a lot of actual threats in your environment. So you might do a risk assessment, and then you may not look at the actual threats. It could also be an insider threat, for that matter. It
Yeah.
could, and many of the compliance aspects, you will say you need to run a security awareness program for the employees, over on an annual security compliance or education program for your employees, right?
Mhm.
So do you really measure the effectiveness of that education program, right? So it could also be, I'll give you another interesting aspect. When it we are talking about the same developer training for application security. How do you measure that? You ask every developer to do a training for the secure coding guidelines, but do you really see, as a result of the developer training, is there a reduction in the coding level vulnerabilities that are occurring in your SAST security
Mhm.
assessment, source code assessment results, right? So
Mhm.
are you really doing a mapping of that to see whether your training is effective,
Mhm.
or you're just making the people to do the training because there is a compliance requirement that you should
Yeah.
do, right? So those are some things which comes up as just ignoring the actual threats, actual facts that comes in your way for security. The third aspect is about lack of risk assessment and quantification. You do compliance, you pick up some of the systems, but are you really doing that for the right system based on the risk assessment, risk exposure that systems have, rather than tagging it back to the real assets? So many of the compliance programs are uh, based upon the risk assessment that you've done
Mhm.
in maybe one level of assets. But if you really drill that down to the data level, how do you target the specific controls that you need to have at each level with the
Mhm.
right compliance mandates? You may be overdoing things as well, or maybe you may be underdoing as well, right? So are we really looking the risk exposure at asset level to implement the compliance requirements on these? So these are some of the blind spots that organizations will end up having when they're driving large compliance programs.
Mhm. Definitely, it's quite interesting the whole concept of compliance fatigue, because even when I do speak to other CISOs and security heads, one thing that I notice, it's like unintentionally there's a gripe about the compliance, even though it's a
Yeah.
main thing that actually helps them keep their data safe. It is a little bit like like they don't really, they want to follow it, they will follow it, but there is a certain level of like, why is it needed, like are we really going to delve so deep into it? And that is something that's interesting that you brought up, because a fatigue is a real thing, because when there's a little bit too much of the same thing, it does get a little tiring to follow each and every bit of it to the dot. So let's
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and so let's pivot towards a little bit towards your experience in VSIS. I wanted to understand what inspired you to become an advocate for diversity and inclusion in cybersecurity, and how do you feel has the landscape changed over the years since you first began your career?
Well, I think this is a very interesting, question, and I've been asked this very often. Um, And you know what? I use the same example over and over again. If someone has listened to me in some of my talks earlier, must have listened to this example. But this is the true one. So I really wanted to share that for those people who haven't heard before. So I did my engineering in information technology
Mhm.
23 years back. In my class, engineering class, we had 26 girls and 24 boys. So which was very, very rare in an engineering classroom back then, right?
Of course.
Usually, engineering was supposed to be a boys' career option, and girls were usually they ended up doing more like teaching or bank jobs and things like that. I have nothing against any of those jobs. It's just that I never found an interest, and then I wanted to choose something technical. So. We had a very good strength of girls in the class, and they were all academically good. They were smart and very well groomed girls in the class, and we had a great time. So at the end of the session, we all got placed. Some of them got placed, some of them didn't. But anyway, we all started doing some or other jobs at that point in time. So most of them started engineering related jobs. Some of them didn't. I would say around out of 26, 23, 24 of them started doing jobs, or maybe two, three didn't choose to work at that point. Fast forward, we all went through our biological cycle of getting married, having kids, and a lot of and that happens with men and women both. So during that time, right? So when we were thinking about 10 years down the lane, I could see only 50% of us were working, right? Because 50% of them were chose, or they had to choose, or they chose. I'm not sure they or a job to not to work. So that becomes 20. Let's take 20 of us, or maybe 18 of us. And then again, another 5 6 years down the line, we see that people, some people change the jobs to a different career option. Some of them by choice because they wanted to do something different. Some of them because they were not able to get the right balance in the corporate world, and they wanted to do something which is less stressful. So that became the count became less. And when I look at now, and we are in 23, 20, 24 years after we completed our graduation, um, and only 5 or 6 of us are in the leadership positions today, right? So imagine the number of people, women who started from there till now, the kind of changes that happen. Of course, a lot of us are working. Maybe 50% of us are still working, or more than us, we are still working but different levels, right? So um, and that actually is an eye opener. And the same thing happens when I see a lot of graduates coming out of college these, I mean, at least several years back, we see a lot of graduates, girls coming, joining the mainstream corporate. And then eventually I could see the numbers going down. And in all my last several years of career journey, ever since I've become a manager, I rarely had women at the same level as mine. And as I moved up, even today in my peer group, I'm the only woman. And many times when I go to client meetings or any external forums, I'm the only woman in that room. So I hate it. I hate to see that, because that's exactly the problem, right? It's not, over the years I realized that it's not a problem about women not given an opportunity to find a career opportunity or educational assistance. It's also about how do we support them, how do we enable them to move to the next level over the period of time, supporting them through all the ups and downs of the life, and matching their career aspirations along with that. So this is exactly the reason which prompted me to start doing something for women who we could advance women in the security field. And in the security field, it's even more less, right? You will see less, even lesser women in the security
Mhm.
field. And today, this the percentages show that it's even less than 30%, 30 around
Mhm.
30% of women, 30-35% women. So which is again very less in the overall scheme of things. So and I think there is an interesting study that came in. If you really really go like this, it will take at least several years, at least three generations, to bring in equity into the gender ratio in the work life that we have. So there is a long way to go. There is a lot that we need to collectively do. And it's also important that we support each other, and we create equitable environment for everyone to lift each other to go into that level. So I really felt that there is a need, because the experience that I had over the number of years, what I've seen in the corporate over the number of years, and that's exactly made me pick up something which I'm really passionate about, Amrit.
Mhm. Definitely. That was like it's a thing that even I have noticed quite a bit, even though as short as my career might be, there are some people that I've connected to through different networking events and everything. And I've noticed there's a general trend that I myself even see that there's a lack of
Yeah,
women who join such networking events. I see a lack of
yeah,
people in corporate as well. When you see the board of directors,
yeah,
when you see the
yeah,
leadership board, there is a
absolutely.
certain amount of not just training and upskilling that is required to be given to the female end of the workforce, but also like you mentioned, there is a need for an opportunity as well, uh, and that is something definitely quite interesting here. So, according to you, what steps should companies take? Like, what should they foster to create a more inclusive and diverse workforce in the security industry?
I The first thing that I will point out that there should be a deliberate effort beyond the metrics and checklist and numbers that organizations have for their diversity, equity, inclusion, objectives, right? So many times you will have, I've seen that people talking about, okay, I need to really have this percentage of women or this percentage of diverse candidates. That's the reason that I'm hiring for, or bringing in them, right? So which is not the right, which is, I think that approach should come naturally, but at the same time it should be a deliberate effort
Mhm.
to bring in more women, more diverse groups into the corporate. So some of the steps that I've also personally driven in my experiences in the past, to expand your recruitment efforts, but actively seek talent from all different groups, including women and other underrepresented groups, and also make sure that there is a definite task about evaluating equal number of profiles when it comes to from at least good representations from all the different groups that you wanted to when you are evaluating the profiles for any recruitment. So it includes inclusive hiring practices as well, right? So in the past, I have been fortunate to drive the um, for a program where we were hiring women who took a break in their career uh, due to family situations or anything similar, to bring back them to the mainstream industry. So those were very very effective or conscious efforts that we put in. And I think as I said, I was fortunate to make that happen for IBM. IBM in my what was my previous organization. So as a first time for security. So I'm very really proud and happy that we could make it happen with a group of women that we were working together with the leadership support. The other thing is invest in education and training, which not just include having the certification programs or training programs. It also should be the mentorship, scholarship programs, and skill development programs that can
Mhm.
equip individuals to or women to take up new skills and then develop, expand their capabilities to pick up other additional roles, right? So when you are offering such programs, it's not that it doesn't mean it's not a one size fits for all program, right? So if
Mhm.
you really need to give them a flexibility and opportunity that they can complete some of these programs with their jobs, and then also taking care of rest of the other commitments as well, right? So I think the programs need to be designed in such a way that it can facilitate those aspects as well. And many times when women come on board, and for that matter any other diverse teams come on board, we bring in diversity into team, but are we really inclusive, and are we giving equitable environment for them to be successful in that space, right?
Mhm.
So while we bring in diverse groups, we need to bring that environment where their opinions are valued, they are safe about expressing themselves, and then the leadership also prioritizes inclusion. To give an example, when you are in a room full of people, you might end up seeing maybe men, some of the men talking a lot more than women, and women must be thinking, is it they always have an imposter syndrome. They might be having a very valid point,
Mhm.
but then they might not speak up, right? Are you provisioning that environment for women to speak up? I'll give you an example of some in one of my team members. So she came back after a maternity leave,
Mhm.
right? And then there was an opportunity for which that person had to travel overseas for a period of 6 weeks or something like that. So
Mhm.
we were in a group of in a group where I was only woman in that one, and then we were talking about how to staff this project. And this the woman who came after the maternity leave was the only, actually she was the most qualified for that job.
Mhm.
uh, the point of view that came in that room was that, oh, she may not be traveling because she has just had a baby or she just returned from maternity leave.
Mhm.
So we should consider someone else. So I made it a point in the room. She has the best of the skills. She's the best one to be put in front of the customer. We should give that option to her first. It is her choice whether she should pick that up or not, because she is most qualified.
Mhm.
She may end up saying no to it, but we should give that opportunity. And um, and I was the only one who brought up that point, and we because of that we brought it up to that lady, and then she was ready to accept that opportunity. And we had a program where they could take accompanied person if their child is less than 2 years old, right? So she had that provision from the organization. She leveraged that position and she traveled, right? So
Mhm.
so you have practices in the organization. You also need to bring in that culture to consider, look at, give equitable opportunities to everybody who is who they can thrive and succeed in their jobs.
Mhm.
So that will keep people in the job for a longer time than they choose to move out. And the other thing is about review and revise the policies. It's not that you need to look at the policy, keep the same policies over and over the years. You need to look at what makes sense for the current business demands,
Mhm.
and what makes sense for the current socio-economic situations, rather than just making it a very very one-sided effort. effort. So time to time they should be revising. I think the last thing is something which as a society we should do. I always speak about it. We should learn to live in this world where women are enabled and women are given diverse opportunities, and it's a collective effort for the society to make them succeed as well by providing the right support system and the resources that they can succeed at work while they can equally contribute at their home.
Definitely. I mean, it's a very interesting point because as much as a company sets up, different policies, different initiatives, these are all things that are in place. But for women to freely be able to adopt these, it's a work of culture. It's a work of
Yeah,
their own mindset as well. And that culture building completely depends as well on the society as well as their peers in that group. Like you mentioned, it was very necessary to give her the choice to make whether she says yes or she says no for
yeah,
the
yeah,
assignment. It is completely up to
yeah,
her to take that
yeah,
decision, and that decision should not be made by someone else. So definitely that is quite an
exactly.
interesting point here. So another aspect of building a community, like you said, for a culture to be present, there needs to be a community as well. So what do you think is the role of mentorship and networking when it comes to empowering women in cybersecurity? And how can aspiring professionals leverage communities just like Visas for growth?
Glad that you asked this question, Amreen. I think it's more there is no better time than this to talk about the mentorship, allyship, sponsorship in the context of women in cybersecurity. Um, so there are two reasons why I said this, right? So one, um, you really need role models in the space when you want to look at and then identify things that you wanted to learn from them, create goals with them, plan how your career should be on that. So we do cybersecurity is a space where you may have very few women role models. That is where you have an allyship and sponsorship aspects also come into picture. The second aspect is about how we as because I said the same point about there are only few women role models. How we as women, the people who have gained certain amount of experience, certain been through certain journey, can enable the other women to take up the path, right? So that is a mentorship aspect as well. How do we enable the next set of people to take up or support them to come forward as well? So both of this coming together, because in the cybersecurity is beautiful space that you have an opportunity for all the mentors and the mentees together to give support each other. And there is an interesting study that shows that mentees who have taken up very structured mentorship programs are promoted 5 times more often, and mentors who have taken up structured mentorship programs have 6 times more likely to advance their career. So it's a mutual thing for both mentors and mentees together. And I'm glad that VSIS is Women in Cybersecurity community, which is a dedicated community for the women in the globally with a good 50,000 plus members and several chapters worldwide. And we are hosting our uh, annual conference this week as well. So this community is probably one of the very few communities that are dedicated for advanced retain and advanced women in cybersecurity. And we have a very structured mentorship program wherein it's a 9 months program led by women, for women, conducted by women. So it's a mutual beneficial program with a structured content where the mentees have an opportunity to interact with mentors around the world, and mentors have an opportunity to mentor women across the world. So for example, I'm a mentor to six of the mentees in the current cohort, and mentoring the mentees are all across the world. So um, you also really learn a lot of things on in the process of mentoring them, giving them
Mhm.
advices, because many times their socio-economic situations, their cultural situations may be different than the kind of thing that we see. For example, in the recent study by I think it is the study by McKinsey on women in workforce, it says that women of color and women of the Asian origin, they are more stressed out, more having a biased treatment when it comes to their workplace, as well as because of the socioeconomic conditions that they have, their stress level, and even the bias that they are facing is much more. And at the same time, the interesting fact is that women of Asian women are actually they are more aggressive in asking for what they want when it
Mhm.
comes to their career, right? So that is because their socio economic situation is such that they're not really having the right ecosystem, and they're being constantly under pressure, under stress. They're actually coming forward and asking for things which they want much more than earlier. So coming back to the mentoring program, right? So the platforms like this will give an opportunity to get exposure to a larger worldwide presence, and also learn in a structured way, and as well. So while I definitely in much in support of these programs, I personally like to have multiple mentors. Not that I would, because I truly believe that one mentor may end up giving you a biased view. You need to have
Mhm.
a diverse set of mentors depending upon what purpose, what is that you're looking for mentorship at any
Definitely, yes.
point in time. It could be a coaching as well, right? Sometimes you I would just need a coaching as well. So I do have mentors, at least 3 to 4 mentors whom I speak on a regular basis. It could be more on a career aspect. There are people whom I reach out if they have a personal situation and I need some advice on. There could be people whom I wanted to talk about if I'm looking for a career opportunity, which one should I pick up? So I personally look at different mentors because each one of them have a different view, and I kind of pick and choose, or rather analyze all of this aspect and then choose the one that works for me, than going with the mentor's advice all this time. So but you still, as I said, the platforms like this will give you a structured mentorship program, but outside that, having your network built, that's another aspect, will give you, being part of communities like basis, you have access to a larger community of women, and also other communities like professional communities that you have. So that will give you an opportunity to work with several people, several diverse set of people, and have the right mentorship and guidance from those people as you progress. And trust me, a mentorship becomes more and more important, and having a trusted set of allies and sponsors become very very important as you move up in your career, because
Mhm.
you can't trust anybody, everybody for that matter. You really need that trusted group of people, for mentorship and allyship and sponsorship as you move up in your career, to keep you going, make you enable you to make the right decisions.
Definitely, definitely. Like, it's a very huge part of anyone's career. Like, I'm not going to be specific for women, but women and men, especially in the
Yeah.
tech field, given that it is so rapidly evolving, there is a need to be, among your peers, have a proper networking session. And to a certain amount, there needs to be mentorship. And again, like you pointed out, mentorship in terms of what? Is it to deal with, workplace issues, or is it to get hike up your career in some way, to upskill yourself? So there is different types of mentorship. So I think that's a very interesting point. There has to be a distinction when it comes to mentorship. So, of course, I believe women in cybersecurity Indian chapter is also working very hard towards building this community and fostering that kind of relation between the members.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring in a point about how to leverage the VSIS mentorship program. So VSIS mentorship program is an annual program that happens usually in the month of May. So the invite the call for registration will start around in May June time frame every year. So this is open for the VSIS members. So VSIS membership comes with a cost, and VSIS India has a free membership. The good news is that if you are part of the VSIS India chapter, you have a discounted membership fees for VSIS Global, which you can leverage and be a part of these mentorship programs at a very nominal cost. And I'm sure there are a lot of other programs that one can leverage as part of being part of VSIS and VSIS India as well. So I highly recommend all the women out here to, even if you're currently a professional cybersecurity professional or wanting to be a cybersecurity professional, do join us. We have a lot of events and programs that you can leverage.
Definitely, ma'am. And for all our viewers, I'll definitely be putting this link down in our description. So if you're interested, I highly recommend joining such programs. And networking with your peers is definitely something
Yeah.
that is very interesting for me at least. So I would definitely recommend everyone to go ahead and register there. So thank you, ma'am. Today's conversation has definitely been very insightful. It is very difficult to see kind of the internal perspective on corporate life, especially when it comes from one segment of the society, that is from the women's end. So definitely it was very interesting to learn about your experience, both in a technical field, but as well as a woman in tech. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. It has been truly a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Amreen. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.